The beauty of being an actor is that you get to experience the full range of human emotions without suffering the consequences. It's a beautiful thing, and what I love about acting is it's a constant exercise in empathy. When you play the bad guy, are you bad? No, of course not. You don't believe you're bad. You have justifications, reasons why you are the way you are, and you make the choices that you do. So it's finding the love for everybody. So there's no judgment, right? Really easy to judge. Really easy to say, he's a piece of crap, He's a fucking asshole. Maybe not judge until you've walked in those shoes, right? Rick Rivera. That's my professional name. My full name is, my name is Ricardo Ibarra Rivera. My full Christian name is Ricardo Ignacio Ibarra Rivera Ralón Iglesias Afre. So that's why I go by Rick. And Coach Rick has kind of become the brand. I've been an acting coach for almost 10 years now. And before that, I was a life coach, business coach. I still have coaching clients on that side. And that's the only reason why I was able to take the leap and go into being an acting coach, because I'm an actor. And, classically trained, college, graduate school, you're always taught actors don't coach or direct other actors. So, it was a big decision for me to step up and say, yes, I can do this. Who are you? Who are you to do that? Well, I have, 35 years of acting experience. I started when I was in high school. And I just recently turned 55. So I took the leap, submerging from local folks and stuff. And I've created what's now called the Actors Dojo. We started on a Monday night, May 2nd. This May 2nd will be 10 years. And it's every week. I've shown up every week. I got like 2 sick days for COVID. Missed 3 days for a rehearsal of a show that I jumped in last minute because the lead had to drop out. But that's kind of the whole point, and the foundation is you just have to show up, right? And I've been on set shooting a guest star role with Z Nation or whatever, on set for 13 hours, and I'll go and I'll have class afterwards. Because, to me, that's what it's all about. And now, for the last several years, I also have a Wednesday night Zoom and a Thursday night that we do at Mystery Ridge Movie Ranch out in Coeur d'Alene. So, and now the last couple of years, I'm an adjunct professor at Eastern Washington University, teaching acting for camera. So I'll do Tuesday evenings in the spring quarter at Eastern Washington. So a lot of coaching classes, I don't call myself a teacher. I don't like that. I don't teach linearly. The second you walk into class, you're an actor. That's how I treat everyone. And again, from the personal development side and neuroscience and quantum, we all have a supercomputer between our ears. Everybody, right? Which means we're all geniuses. And that's where I start with you. And I've had several adults over the years, no experience whatsoever. And in a year or less, they're booking paid gigs, So it seems to be working. And I don't work any method. I don't believe in any method because somebody created something for themselves. And so much has been based on Stanislavski, who, the papa, if you will, and the method and all that stuff. And look, I got nothing to say bad about anything. Like I said, I was classically trained, and I was taught a lot of different things, Meisner and all that stuff. But Stanislavski himself said, don't create a method from, what I've created. Create your own. And to me, that's what it's about. It's about helping people get comfortable and confident in their skin, right? That it's your voice is what matters, right? You're the only one of you. There's only one you, and only you can do it how you would do it. So, that's the foundation. It's very simple, but simple doesn't equal easy. You still have to do the work, right? I think a lot of people want to take a weekend course and think this is going to make the difference. No, what's going to make the difference is you practicing, right? You want to be an athlete, what do you got to do? You got to train, right? You want to get strong, you got to work out consistently. And that to me is the key. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get inside of that, right? And I've become a better actor, more confident and way more comfortable, losing a lot of the nerves and everything, since I became a coach. And it's not because of anything else, I think, other than I show up every week, several times a week now. And it's easy for me because I love it. That's my happy place. It's the one place that I feel like I do really good work. Yeah. The rest of my life could be a complete mess, yeah. but this is home, right? This is where it just makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So quite a bit there to unpack, and that was just real, wave top wickets, and we're gonna have to explore each one of those. So you've started off as a traditionally trained actor. You've now graduated into the universities where you are an adjunct professor there, you teach there, and you have focused on consistency in developing your own system.
Sure, my system's the non-system, though, right? My method is the non-method. There is no method other than trying things on. For me, I've often said, as actors, we paint with emotions, right? And once you get to experience it, really be in the moment, really feel it, and it happens in class, right? I like to say that's in your kit now, and you can pull that anytime you want. Now, do you have to have experience to be able to pull it out? No, I don't believe so. But I think once you're well practiced and you have the confidence, the director can give you direction and say, hey, try this. And you just do it. That's the key. And that only comes when you're in shape, right? You're well lubed. You're a well lubed machine. You're like I like to say, you want pink, I'll give you pink. You want fuchsia? I'll give you fuchsia, right? Mm-hmm. I'll give you whatever you want. And that's why I love direction. Direction is not criticism. Young actors, you give them direction and they want to explain. Well, I was doing this because, I thought my character, you know what? Directors don't want to hear that. Especially on set, right, where time is so precious and we're always behind schedule. Just say, okay, great, got it. Let it go. Mm-hmm. Move on. And, at the bottom of the Actors Dojo, Coach Rick's Actors Dojo logo, it says one for safety. Because I feel like that's what my actors hear the most, which means they nail it on the first take, right? Director gives you direction, bam. We got it. Let's get one for safety. Because, you want more than one take when you go into post, just in case something's just a little off. And so, yeah, to me, that's what it's all about, is getting actors ready to be on set, to show up, ready to perform, and they'll perform on every take. even if the trajectory completely changes. Maybe the director's going to give you a complete 180, something you never thought of. To me, that's my favorite. Yeah, let's go. Jump off the cliff. I know I can fly, right? Because I've practiced and I've done it for years. And that's really what... I hate using the term students because, like I said, I don't like to consider myself a teacher. I'm a coach. But, for the sake of simplicity, that's what the students experience is that ease. And it's fun, right? That's the joy, is being able to nail it and be present. Now, when I say nail it, that doesn't mean it's perfect. There is no perfect. Every take should be different because it's happening for the first time each time, even if you're on your 10th take. But independent filmmaking, I've coached a couple of films. We can get into that also. Again, time is a crucial factor. My actors help create one of the most efficient filming experiences there is because each setup typically is 2-3 takes max. If it goes beyond that, anytime it goes beyond that, it's always technical. It's not because the actor isn't there performing. It's because sound or lighting or, didn't really get the focus on that rack, whatever, right? So a well-prepared actor is key.
So what does it take to be a well-prepared actor?
Show up and do the work.
Show up and do the work, yeah.
Again, it is that simple. But like I said, simple isn't easy because you still have to show up. And, being an ADHD guy and having decades of procrastination and resting on, I know I can do this. Nothing replaces showing up and doing the work, right? It's not that some teacher gave me something. It's not that some teacher's going to give you something. Like I tell everyone who walks into the dojo, I'm not going to teach you anything because everything you need, you already have inside you, right? Mm-hmm. It's just you have to discover you. You have to know you. And my very first teacher, director from high school said something incredibly powerful. It just always stuck with me, and it's a big part of my foundation, which is the beauty of being an actor is that you get to experience the full range of human emotions without suffering the consequences. Right?
That's nice.
It's beautiful because I also don't believe in, and a lot of times you hear about method actors and, going into this, and there's no weird psychology, nothing. You don't damage yourself. You don't go to a painful place except for in the moment, right? Your preparation shouldn't be, trying to drudge up horrible memories and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people that will do that. I don't believe in that. For me, this, according to Aristotle, it's a cathartic experience, not just for the audience, but for the performer, right? It's a healing process. And for me, really what I want to help cultivate artists, the spiritual warrior artist, right? That knows that by giving their gift, they're helping people heal emotionally, right? When someone can sit there and be moved and touched, whether it be laughter, tears, whatever, right? That's helping rearrange their DNA, possibly opening up some insight. Does it always happen? No, of course not. Are you going to do it for everybody? No, never. But if you can get one, you've done your job, right? If you touch one heart, one soul, you can say that's the God's work, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, that's really what I want. And, I like to say I'm here to help save the planet, not single-handedly. And that's not an arrogant statement. I want everyone to step into that knowing that their actions, that their giving of their gift is contributing to that. And that's another thing that I got from, my first director. The very first show I did was 1776, my junior year. And before the show, opening night, he gave us a little speech. And I was nervous, of course. I mean, I've never done this. I was a football player, wrestler in high school. And I had just taken an acting class first semester. Loved it, right? Took it because I thought I needed a fine arts requirement. And I was going through the list, sculpting, painting. I was like, I can't do that. And then I see acting, and I think, oh, acting's a joke. I'll do that. It's literally the thought that I had, that it was a blow-off class. It would be an easy A. Well, I got my A. I think it was an A minus. And it wasn't because it was easy, but it was because I fell in love with it. Mm-hmm. And so he told us before the show, he's like, listen, regardless of how old you are and how old the audience is, because the majority of the audience in a high school show is going to be adults, parents, teachers, whatever. You have a gift to give. That's another one that just, bam, hit me. And, being an athlete, former athletes are also some of my best students. You listen to the coach, right? You trust the coach. And I believed him. I have a gift to give. And I've always carried that all the way through. And being a coach now for this long, it's evolved into not just you have a gift to give, but you are the gift. We're all a gift to humanity if we choose to. Don't leave the party without giving your gift, right? Mm-hmm. When I was doing coaching, I worked for a company many years, Peak Potentials. And, they do seminars and all that stuff. And one of the owners of the company told an anecdote. And he said, so it's like you're going to a party. And you got this gift under your hand, right? And you walk into the party and, you start saying hi to people. You go say hi to the hosts and, time to sit down for the meal. You still got that gift under your arm, right? You haven't actually. And the evening goes on and it goes on and it goes on. And all of a sudden it's time to go and you end up leaving. But you still got the gift under your arm. Don't leave the party without giving your gift, right? Mm-hmm. Don't leave the party without giving your gift. And so, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And what I love about acting is it's a constant exercise in empathy. When you play the bad guy, are you bad? No, of course not. You don't believe you're bad. You have justifications, reasons why you are the way you are, and you make the choices that you do. So it's finding the love for everybody. So there's no judgment, right? Really easy to judge. Really easy to say, he's a piece of crap, He's a fucking asshole. Maybe not judge until you've walked in those shoes, right? And I think, as I was taught by many teachers along the way, don't judge your characters. Don't even speak negatively, pejoratively about your characters, right? Because that's going to take away from you giving in to the given circumstances and portraying a complete, three-dimensional, maybe even a five-dimensional character.
This is some really good life coach advice too.
Well, I mean, personal development and definitely what's out there now with neuroscience. I'm a big fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he really combines the science with the spiritual, maybe. But he teaches us that the mind really can heal. And he's had several people that have had either spontaneous remissions in his courses, like during the course of 5 days, a weekend, whatever. They walk in, they're ill, they walk out, it's gone. Spontaneous remission is a real thing. Look it up. It has happened. the medical establishment doesn't want to touch it, right? No, you got to treat cancer this way. He also has people who do the work. And a big part of what he teaches is meditation every morning, every evening, right? Do it consistently. Get to the nothing, which is peace also, right? Regularly. And countless stories of, in the last year and a half, I started out with stage 4 cancer. Now I'm cancer free.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. No,
Praise
no.
be.
No,
Wow.
yeah. Absolutely. No, it's all within us, right? The kingdom of God is within you. It's all inside of you. We have it all inside of us. We have this gift. We are the gift. But you have to get rid of the noise. And to be an actor, to be, I think, a great actor, you need to be able to be in the, you need to be able to be in the moment, right? Be present. Present, gift, present, right? Mm-hmm. The gift. And it happens, and it's magic every time. And I say it all the time. I get to witness miracles several times a week. Every class, somebody hits it, right? And has a moment, and we're moved, we're laughing. That's magic, real magic, right? God's magic, miracles.
And you alluded to some really good things, such as before you came, I was reading some Bible verses of the day, such as Matthew something or the other, where the light, you're a light, you don't put it under a bushel. You put it on the mantle for everyone to see. There's that one.
One of my favorites, so I'm born and raised Catholic.
Same.
Catholic school, all schooling, kindergarten to 8, high school. High school was St. Ignatius with the Jesuits, all boys when I went. They're co-ed now. And then Santa Clara University. Graduate school wasn't. I went to ACT, American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. But so sang in the choirs and all that. And one of my favorite was Make Me a Channel of Your Peace, right? The Prayer of St. Francis.
Mm-hmm. Very good one.
And it's like a lighthouse, right? I want to be the beacon of light. I just want to shine that light out into the world. And that's what I want, for my students. When you get to do that, it's for nothing else but so that someone can experience that light. Giving your gift. It's a selfless act. And of course, you benefit from that. But it's not about the accolades. It's not about fame. It's not about money. It's not about any of that. Now, as a life coach and a business coach, love money, got nothing against it, right? And I think we as artists should be paid way more than how the whole machine has evolved. They've really whittled us down to like next to nothing, which is why so many people are, they will work for nothing. And that's not right. We have value. And especially when, you have people that are willing to put in the time to show up, to commit their lives to their craft. There's huge value in that. And it's incredibly important. And frankly, I think it's a mistake that a lot of young and maybe even the majority of directors make, thinking they can use just anybody. It's a mistake. And, I think you see it and feel it and experience it in the final product. There's a great, I'm blanking on the director, but a little Instagram interview I saw recently, and he was saying when he went to film school, no one had made a film, but he at least came from a theater background where good acting and good writing was valued. And he said, I don't care how good your direction and lighting and sound and everything else is. If you have a poor story and bad acting, it's going to tank. But if you have a great story and great acting and everything else sucks, it can still be a hit. I think that's powerful. And I think we're headed back in that direction. I think the machine, the beast, has gotten so big right? And how many of these 100+ million films recently have tanked, box office wise? It's missing something, and I say it's missing heart and soul. And everyone's fearful and talking about AI now, and I'm like, look, AI will never have the heart and soul. It might get good, it might get really good, but it won't have what we have, which is us, the human element. Nothing beats that, especially when you are that unique gift, the one of a kind. That's massive stuff.
You said something really good, that acting is an extreme practice of empathy or something along those lines. That is really good. Even, my most hated enemies, I can always think on how empathize with them. Know that, they probably grew up this sort of life and they wouldn't respond to things this way, or they weren't as blessed as I was to see things from my perspective. So yes, that blurring of the bad guy, certain villains, and you can definitely empathize with them, and that's what's really interesting about shows like Breaking Bad, where you wouldn't be someone who would be interested in supporting a guy dying with cancer to cook some meth, and then as you're supporting it as an audience viewer, because you can vicariously live through that character without ever doing it and learn their lessons and get addicted to the show at the same time, you realize that there's different levels that show is going to take you as you continue along with that character. And yeah, great acting, good casting.
Absolutely. It's awesome because I have a recent experience. I haven't watched Breaking Bad yet.
Oh.
Yet.
Okay.
All right. Recently I went out to Tacoma to film for Jason Voorhees' Nightmares. It's a fan film.
Oh.
And Aaron Carlson from CCC Entertainment and also the Around the Reel podcast, I do the mid-segment installments, they're going to gear back up. Anyway, I was hanging out with him the night before, stayed with him because, I'm in Spokane and wasn't going to drive out the same day. So we're hanging out, and at the end of the night, he's like in his third or fourth time through the show. He's watched it with like each of his kids. And so we watched an episode. And funny enough, it was an episode that someone had done a monologue from that. And he's talking to his son and essentially apologizing. And, the tears and the everything, and so much is in close-up, right, which is just magnificent because you see him. And Aaron made a comment about how he's the most, how did he put it? Like the most empathetic bad guy. Like how does your heart not go out to this guy when he's giving you this, right? And I think in a lot of ways, yeah, that's great writing. Now, part of my thing, again, with the evolution of the industry and everything, our heroes are often the bad guys these days, right? Kind of maybe call it an anti-hero or whatever. I think The Sopranos was a big start of that. We fall in love with these guys they're bad dudes. Mm-hmm. They're killing people. And so we've kind of let that be okay. And I want us to, I think we're ready for the pendulum to swing back and get back to some real heroes also, right? People that are doing the right thing and for the right reasons. And no one's perfect. but they don't have to be killers
Yeah.
for us to love them. So, yeah. But yeah, and watching that episode, I was like, yeah, I got to watch this. Even if it's just for, what's it, Cranston? Is that right? Just to watch his work. But obviously, there's so many more. His brother-in-law plays the sheriff, right? I got to work with him, Dean, on Nash Bridges.
That must have been fun.
Well, yeah, this was before Dean was Dean, right? It was before this. Nash Bridges was back in the 90s. After graduate school, I went to New York. I was there for a little over 3 years. And then when I came back, I was on my way to LA, decided to stop off at home in San Francisco. San Francisco is where they filmed Nash Bridges. And, I reached out to my agency from when I was in the city and said, hey, I'm in town if anything comes up. I got an audition for Nash Bridges. I walk into the audition, and one of my acting teachers from graduate school was there auditioning for the same role. And I love this guy's work. I've seen this guy work, and, I'm like, I got no chance. There's no way, right? And again, I'm very young still. I'm in my 20s at the time, and like I tell my students, you never know. So you want to remove those conversations out of your head, right? Taking yourself out of the game, essentially. But I had the audition, apparently good enough because I booked the role. I was the only speaking role hired out of San Francisco. All other speaking roles for that show were coming out of LA. Albert Magnoli was the director of that episode. Albert Magnoli was the director of Purple Rain, and he got the Oscar for that. Nice. So I got to work with him. And, Cheech Marin, who was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I got him to sign a VHS copy of Up in Smoke, because that was one of my favorites when I was growing up. I actually, probably watching that way too young. And, back then we watched things over and over a lot. I basically had that whole film memorized, and I recited it to my dad when he was in the hospital for a few days. Before I, knew I wanted to be an actor. But, Don Johnson and the whole deal. So yeah, I got to watch Breaking Bad for sure.
Well, let's go back to when I watched you do. Well, let's talk about script selection. When you select a script, what are you thinking about?
As an actor, you just want to work, and you're hoping to be selected, and I'll do anything, right? I wish I was at a place where I'm like, I want to do this, but so much in terms of filmmaking, well, and even theater, you're just trying to get a gig. You're just trying to work, right? Do I hope to be in a place where I get to choose? Yeah, of course, absolutely. But if I were asked to do something, well, now I need to get into the character, right? Now I need to, find myself in that, bring myself to that. It's not about becoming someone else so much as it is, I think bringing yourself to what the author has created. And of course, always wanting to do your best to what is the author trying to say? Honoring that as well. And we have clues, right? Which is why you read the whole script. What did they say about you? What do other characters say about you? What are the notes saying? All those things, come into play with that. But yeah, still, I'm just happy to have an opportunity to work, right? That's all I want to do. I just want to work. I just want, if I can do this full time, heaven, right? But as most artists these days, we need to have 2, 3, 4 jobs in order to do what we love. I do believe that in a great, beautiful future, it can look very different, where we won't have to worry about paying the bills and putting food on the table and actually get to be artists full time. I believe that's a possibility, and I welcome all of you to embody that, believe that. Just, consider the possibility. The more energy we have behind it collectively, the better shot we have of it manifesting. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to get people along for the ride.
So that brings up a good question. Where do you see the industry going?
It's time for the Renaissance/revolution. The big industry, big studio, I think is going to go by the wayside. I don't know how the money thing is going to work. It's going to happen, though. It has to happen. We're going to see a resurgence in the independent filmmaking. It has to happen. Real stories need to be told that aren't formulaic, that aren't being done because this is what works, right? This is what's going to sell tickets. No, man. I want your heart. I want your soul, right? That's what we all want. And that's the thing that's going to help elevate. And so I think people need to have the courage to give their gift, speak their voice, put it out there, take the risk. I think the independent, what does that look like with shows? I mean, I think it's the same thing. The whole distribution and, how it's going to be viewed and how it's going to be able to sustain, I don't know. That's all needs to evolve, but it has to. Because what we have now is a system that employs, let's just talk in terms of actors, less than 1% of the union membership, the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA now, right? There used to be 2 different unions, Screen Actors Guild and then AFTRA, which was the associate, but I don't know. I joined them both separately, and then they've merged years later. But bottom line, less than 1% of union membership lives from their craft, from their acting. I've heard 2 different numbers. There's 130,000 or 160,000 active members in the union. In a country of 350 million, 160,000. Less than 1% of those live from their craft. It needs to evolve to where we can be artists and we can live from our craft. And what that looks like is when you're making billions of dollars, there's a larger percentage that goes to the actual creators of the work of art, the actors, the writers, the crew, right? Everybody involved. I don't know. How about 20% of the, 20% of the profits? Look at Netflix and what they make. If 20% of that went to the creators of it, everyone would have an amazing life. That's a lot of money. A lot of people could be taken care of there. And the powers that be are still making oodles and oodles of money, right? Mm-hmm. Now, why is the creator only getting 20%? A lot of people, I think, would be like, well, shoot, half. It's possible. There's enough money. It's just the corporate structure, again, the pendulum has swung really far. And it's not just that in the entertainment industry. I mean, it's across the board, right? You got a CEO that's making hundreds of millions of dollars or billions, and their people are struggling to pay their bills. Amazon?
Oh, yeah.
He could make every single one of his employees upper middle class or even wealthy, and still be a multi-billionaire, right? So, those kinds of things need to evolve. And it starts with, I think, us believing that it can happen, us believing that it's possible. We don't have to know how. This is what we know from manifestation and personal development and all that stuff. Don't worry about the how. Know where you want to go and stay focused on that. And what steps are you taking today to move in that direction? That's your job. Because you know what's going to happen? When you are following your heart's purpose, God will fill in the blanks, right? The universe fills in the blanks because your heart's in the right place. You're moving and working. You're not just sitting back and waiting, right? Which is what so many actors want to do. Yes, I'm an actor. Really? Are you? Are you practicing your craft? Are you reading scripts? Or do you just want to be famous? That's the difference, right? And there's many actors. Don Cheadle has a great interview, and he speaks exactly to that. Because he said, people have always asked me, I wish I could do what you do. You want to be an actor, or do you want to be famous? Because if you want to be an actor, you should be in class. You should be reading scripts. You should be auditioning. Trying to work in any way you can. That's being the actor. You want to be a musician? Are you picking up your instrument every day? Are you sitting down at the piano every day? Because that's what it takes. There's a great anecdote with one of my students whose film, his first feature that I got to be a coach on through Mystery Ridge. It's called Vacant Lot. Bill Bancroft, we were on set one day in Montana, and he's a drummer. Years, decades, 40 years professional, touring, the whole bit. He said, a little while ago, I put my sticks down for 6 months. And when I picked them back up, I felt like I would never get back to where I was when I put the sticks down. 40 years, 6 months. You put your instrument down, what's going to happen? You're going to get rusty. That's it. It's that simple. Again, going back to show up, do the work, get on your feet. And that's the beauty of the dojo. Traditional scene study classes, you might get up in front of class once a month. It is a lot. More like once every 2 to 3 months. You can get up in class every single week in my classes, right? Pick a scene, pick a monologue, we work it. And that's just it. That's how it works. You bring something to work on, and we work it. I direct you. Like, okay, great. How'd that feel? Awesome. Let's try this. And it's just that simple. Try it on, try it on, try it on, especially when it's something that maybe you never even thought of. And then you realize, oh, hey, I can do that. Oh, hey, I can do that. I remember listening to a lecture from a master violinist, and he was talking about whatever classical piece, and it's so incredibly complex. I mean, those fingers are just flying, right? And he says, if I think about it, I can't do it. There's no thinking. There's just being, right? And flow, right? And again, how does that happen? Practice. It's that simple. But there's a great quote that says, everybody says they want to be a millionaire until they realize what it actually takes. What it takes is a different mindset. What it takes is a willingness to let go of old beliefs, self-limiting beliefs, some like to call them, right? And understanding that not only yes I can, but yes I am. This is who I am. This is what I do. How do you get there? Show up, do the work, practice. Be it, do it. You want to act, then you got to find a way to act. Coming out of the ACT's Summer Training Congress, I did that the summer between my junior and senior year of college. It's a 10-week course. Lovely, fantastic. And I believe they're still doing it. The graduate school no longer exists. They shut their doors. Ran out of money, I guess, which is heartbreaking and sad. Lots of people. Annette Benning spoke at my graduation. She was a graduate of ACT. But it's a 10-week course, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, which is essentially what the graduate school was, right? And you got ballet, jazz, yoga, acting, master acting, voice, speech, all of it. And at the end, my main acting teacher said, you guys should pretty much know what I think about you. We've done 3 scenes over the course of the summer. And I was like, every time I did a scene, it was my partner that was always getting the direction. I'm like, you never really gave me anything, man. And again, I'm young, wanting somebody to give me something, thinking that I need something external, right? Which now I know that's not what it is. I need to experience it, which is what I'm trying to pass on, right? And I tell my students, I'm going to save you decades, because it took me decades to figure this out, to feel this out. And he said, keep getting smart. Learn as much as you can about anything and everything, and just keep acting. And that didn't really hit until, years later. And now I'm like, such wise words. Mm-hmm. Again, so simple, right? But we, in our minds, with the subconscious that's running the show, now we'll get back into the neuroscience side of things, right? As opposed to our higher self, think, I need X, as opposed to, I already have, I already am. And again, I think that comes with ownership, and ownership comes with being. Being comes with being, practicing, doing. And so, yeah, find a way to act. For me, I found a way. I get to show up every week, and I get to be with the craft every week. And like I said, it's made me I get my acting workout from it as well. Now, that doesn't mean I still don't need to practice, because sometimes, we have to do a video submit audition, right? And I watch the playback and my head's moving and stuff, like all stuff that I coach people in, right? And I'm doing those things. I still need to practice. Mm-hmm. I still need to keep an eye, all that stuff. So.
That is a lot of really unique tips. And you've been doing this for over 10 years.
The coaching, yeah. Acting, like I said, over 30.
Yeah, the coaching, 10 years. So damn near every week.
Yeah. And I think it's pretty safe to say, definitely in the Pacific Northwest, quite possibly in the country, I don't think anyone else can make that claim at this point. I trained with a guy in LA for over 4 years, every week. But he has a beginning, middle, and end. It's based on his first book. His name is Stephen Book. And it's basically walking through the book. So you audition, you get into the class. He admits a certain number of people, and then you're going to travel with this group for the next four and a half years, however long it takes. But there's an end, and then he starts over. Right now, he'd have 2-3 classes a week. But every other, teacher out there takes breaks. Like, we're going to do a session, we're going to do 3 months. They take breaks. I don't take breaks. I took a month off last year for the first time ever, just to spend some time with family. Otherwise, holidays, whatever. This Monday we had class. There's no place I'd rather be, right? It's either in class or on set. That's the happy place. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to do, right? That's who I want to be, and that's it. Of course, family is important, crucial, and all of that. But that's it. So yeah, it's worth it. It's, I think, the reason why I'm alive.
Yeah. those are really good concepts to bring up. And I've been doing this thing. I do the Friday podcast, and I show up before the podcast goes live. And I took this directly out of your book. I just show up with scripts from things that, one, I try to gauge how many people I think are going to show. And then I'll go to that show, and then I got to parse through the script to find the part, and I print them all out, and I highlight everybody's names that is that character, and I pass them out. And that's been a really interesting experiment for me to see who throws a fit over what character they got. And then just watching it play out as these guys just cold read this scene from The Godfather. And I can really appreciate the good actors and people who have more charisma in the reading than other ones. So that's been a fun, unique challenge for me too, is getting those scripts. Another thing that I've been thinking about with the world of the industry now. So I guess I got to ask you this question. What is your perceptual map of the big studios, such as who is who in the zoo now? Is it, in my world, I kind of think of, well, I know for movies and shows, there's like Netflix and there is Amazon.
I think
Disney.
they're still the two biggest right now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, yeah, Disney, ABC. I mean, they're a titan. Along with the MGM, Warner Brothers, and the older cats there. But yeah, Netflix and Amazon, I believe, are top of the food chain right now with what they're producing. I mean, Amazon's profits are hundreds of billions a year. That's no joke. So, yeah. I mean, and I'm by no means am I an expert in any of this. In any of it. I'm the perpetual student, right? And I trust what I feel in my heart. And that's what I go by. And I think, there's a knowledge, there's a wisdom that exists. Again, if we can get quiet and listen, it comes. This is how I coach, right? Someone brings something to work on, I don't want to hear anything. I just go through it once. That's where we start. Now tell me, what is this from? Who are you? Then we get into that. Why? Because I just want to be there with you. I'm really good at being with you, listening, which again is everything that acting is, right? To come to class, I think to get the most out of it is to start practicing the craft of acting. What does that mean? Listen. Be with. I have one of my coach's corners that talks about being a great audience member / class member. I don't think anyone ever really thinks about this, but you as an audience member can affect the performance. Wait, I'm here to get, right? I'm here to be entertained. I'm here to, well, what if you realize that any exchange is a two-way street? It's energy, right? If you're giving your energy to the performance, if you're giving your energy to your class members for them to do their best work, for them to be their best, that's going to make a difference. On set, I've always said, any set you walk onto, there's two worlds. There's the in front of camera and the behind camera world, right? I coach on a set. For me, part of what I do is about being responsible for the energy on set. There's one world. We are all in this together. We are all here to create the best possible work of art possible. And what that takes is for everybody in that room, in that moment, all energies focused on the performance. If you're there giving your energy as opposed to, oh my God, I'm so tired, oh my God, whatever, right? It makes a difference. And what you notice on a set like that is everybody's happy. Everyone's taken care of. Everyone feels loved. And the same thing happens. They're always sad when they have to go home. As opposed to a professional set, it's chaotic. It's a miracle that stuff gets made, right? It really is. It is not a conducive environment to creation. It's like everything is anti that. And so again, it's a miracle. And so what does it look like when you give the artists that space, when you give them, which is why I say what you do is incredibly special, doesn't make you more special. I make that very clear. Just because you're the actor and you've got this amazing gift and you've got this amazing talent, you're not more important. You are crucial, absolutely. But you're not more important because everybody's contributing, and everybody's contribution adds to, makes a difference, and is important.
That is. So I've been thinking about this a lot. How important is setting the scene?
Can you clarify a little more on that?
I guess, like, if for example, it was some doctor ER trauma, right? I imagine the scene would play out better if it was cast or you filmed in a hospital.
Yeah, but oftentimes, that hospital room can be a fake room that is built inside of a studio space, right? When I did New York Undercover in New York, we're in some building down in Soho, and it's a big empty floor of this building, and in the middle of this floor plan, there's these 3 walls creating a hotel room, right? It looks like a hotel room, just like we built the hotel room for Vacant Lot. Same thing. Why? Well, sometimes you can't get an actual location. No, I don't want you filming here, and you can't control outside noise. Having a controlled environment is why people build sets inside of a studio sound stage, for example, right? You control the environment. There's less outside external that you have to worry about. Why? Because of sound, lighting, whatever. It might be daytime, you're shooting at midnight, but you got the lights outside the windows, it's daytime. You control the environment. You create the environment. So, yeah, that's important. I think anytime you can be in a real setting, awesome, sure. Is it necessary? No. But that's where, having professionals, trained people in, their areas all matters and makes a difference. I mean, look, we're making believe, right? We're giving in to a given set of imaginary circumstances. That's the reality. None of it's real. If we can find an environment that's conducive, sometimes you find abandoned, and they have out here in Spokane, an old hospital or whatever that's no longer in use. Awesome, great. But otherwise, yeah, they build sets. They did a show out here in Spokane called Going Home. All those sets were built inside of their studio space. Very intense because I never worked on the show. But the subject matter is hospice care, going home. People are going to die, right? And, what I've heard and been told is that they were very conscious of keeping an environment that was respectful of that. So the actors, right, again, you can't be screwing around if you're part of the crew, right? You can't be talking or whatever. right? The energy matters. How you show up, how you be present matters. To me, that's what fills in the gap of the fake space, right? Again, it's a bunch of professionals coming together and all giving their gifts and all being present and all giving their energy to what, in my opinion, is the most crucial thing, which is the performance. How are you going to reach the audience? How are you going to touch the audience? It's going to be through that performance. If they don't nail it, and again, by nailing it, I don't mean by getting it perfect, but if they don't go there, it's not going to happen. So, can we create an environment to serve that? Can we create an environment to allow for that creation, to allow for that channeling, that being, right? Make me a channel of your peace. Be that beacon of light.
Have you heard the term neighborhood actors?
No.
Okay, so it's one of those interesting rebirths of acting, and I learned this from a book. Actually learned it from a statistics book. Because there was a time before big Hollywood when there was neighborhood actors. And then big Hollywood came and just dominated the game, and neighborhood actors went away. Now it's reversed. And the neighborhood actors are back. And it's interesting because people have a perceptual map of where most of the watch time is, and they think it's Netflix or Amazon or Hulu. It's actually YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And what is so cool about YouTube is there's a lot of ways you can go about monetizing if you have a good performance, and if you can convince the machines to put your content in front of the audience, and then you can continue to retain that audience in this attention economy, which is very difficult. It's a different sort of art.
Right.
And I wonder where the long form movies are going to go in the future, because I notice it with my attention. But then again, shows I find I can binge. But you alluded to the audience and how it's a give and take, and that's true. You have to give the audience what they want, or else they won't even. You're not entertaining them.
Right.
You're not giving. You have 5 seconds to give somebody a reason to like you, or they're gonna keep scrolling.
Which is the whole audition thing also. Casting directors. If you don't get them in the first few seconds, they'll move on. They probably won't watch the whole audition. Right? Yeah, absolutely. But a good story, a good, great performance does that. And what we have learned with something recently is that if you have a good story and great performances, you can get the audience even in a different language. Mm-hmm. Squid Game. Mm-hmm. Look at what Squid Game did, right?
That's a great show.
And is it Korean?
Yeah,
Korean. If you're interested, I've watched some. Just like I love watching anything BBC, right? The English always. But Koreans are knocking out some amazing stuff. We don't know these actors. They're not famous to us. Maybe they're famous, in their country, right? I hope they are. But that show was a worldwide success in multiple countries. And again, there's no star structure. There's none of that. It's possible, and I think that's, one of our beacons to use. If you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. Right? Classic Field of Dreams quote. And again, I think so true. And that's what I'm doing with the dojo, is just doing my best from my point, in my tiny little sliver, right? This is where I'm good, this is what I'm good at, and this is what I want to help people with. And they are an important piece of that puzzle. Because filmmaking, television shows, whatever you want to call it, it's a massive puzzle. There's a lot of pieces. Each one matters, because if one's missing, you got a hole, right? So everyone has to be that perfect piece. Perfect is a loose term. Our perfection lies in our imperfection, right? But you matter. You're important. You help complete the final work. And so, yeah, be that best piece possible.
So I've thought of this. What is stopping people, and I'm sure you can think of a lot of things, but what is stopping people from just coming together and saying, let's film a 2-hour movie. Here's the script. Here's the parts. Here's our shooting locations. We have enough to make it good enough. That barrier to entry for technology is very low. We got phenomenal cameras. We got phenomenal technology for post work. And we can just upload it to YouTube. But not just all of us upload. Not just one person to one person's YouTube. All of us to all of our channels.
Right. Well, I think the simple answer is money. Actors are often asked to do projects for free. I know in our community here, a lot of smaller filmmakers are really making an effort to pay their actors, let's say. Nowhere near what scale is for union or anything like that, but something. Acknowledging, right, your gift, what you're bringing, all of that. I've done, I went to Tacoma for free. These are people that I love and respect, right? I'm honestly not even a huge horror film fan, but a lot of fun with what we did. And so, yeah, when you find your tribe, I think those things do happen. But let's say no one's getting paid. I didn't get paid for that. You still got to feed people. You're asking them to be on set for 10, 12 hours. How are you going to feed them? And what if you got 50 people on set, right? So money, I think, is a factor in that. Again, people need to work. People need to. So I think that's one of the biggest things is finding a way to at least be able to feed your cast and crew. We see a lot of people going through the GoFundMes and stuff like that. They did it for Jason Voorhees, and they're doing it as they're filming. Like, hey, please consider continuing to, because people are going out of pocket. And that's a lot of money, right? I mean, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars just for food. When you start adding all the other aspects, I mean, filmmaking costs a lot of money, even on the cheap. So I think that's the greatest challenge that keeps people from it. If we didn't have to worry about paying the bills and putting food on the table, we would be doing that. Right? So how do we get there? Well, just keep envisioning, maybe there's a universal income coming. AI is going to knock out a lot of the jobs, right? What's going to happen then? I think the beauty is people are going to have to start looking at what they want to do, what their heart's desire is, when they don't have to do, right? People got jobs because they have to. They're not doing it because they love it. And that's what's wrong with our system, right? So how do we find that place where people follow their heart's desire and are taken care of? I don't have the answer. I have the dream.
Well, I think you're really close to it if we look at the monetization on YouTube.
Well, and that's the thing, and I think that's part of the revolution and the Renaissance, right? Is we're moving away from. Martin Scorsese in an interview said, "Just make it, and show it. It doesn't matter if it's an audience of 10 or 100." But it's a community experience, right? Ultimately, these are all community experiences. Finding an audience. Find ways to tell your story. Yes, I absolutely agree. Because he says, gone are the days of the film premiering at the Odeon, right? That system no longer exists. The old Hollywood, coming to theaters and, the whole distribution thing. That's the main thing in the game right now for the professional is, can you find distribution? Which is what you need to do even before you make the film, which is a lot of what people don't think of. They make a film, and then how are you going to get your money back? Let's say you actually do find investors. You know what they want to know? How am I going to get my money back? Well, when you have done the business side of it, you found distribution, yes, you're going to be able to get your money back. Great. Is the film going to, quote unquote, make money? Yeah, maybe not. Or how do you find a way to make money? Well, you said it. It's finding these other streaming possibilities. And there's the Tubies and right? They're out there, and it's starting to happen. And I think that's probably the evolution. YouTube is the biggest, obviously. And it's still, not fully realized. Right, the possibilities are huge with that, and so yeah, I mean, I think you're right, and obviously you're doing it, right, and so yeah, I think that. So people have to learn, right? They need to be taught, educated, whatever, or they need to educate themselves. That okay. This is going to be my platform, or these are going to be my platforms. And yeah, if we get views, we get money, right? So I think that's a big part of the independent, and finding ways to distribute, even if it's not the traditional distribution, which I think is morphing and evolving as we speak.
Oh yeah,
we're on the cusp of a new age, right? We're the pioneers. We're the developers of it. So yeah, definitely find a way to make it. How do you find the people that are willing to do that? Well, that's the hard part. The industry, again, the machine has cultivated some not so nice ways of being. And, it's all about the C word. Which for me is collaboration, but for most it's competition. They're choosing the wrong C word, and because of that competition, they'll stab you in the back in the blink of an eye to get that part. You can be there for someone for years, and they will turn if they think that, ooh, this is going to advance. That's effed up, right? We need to get back to really finding your tribe, your people, your family, because that's who you want with you in the foxhole, right? Those people that are like, I stand with you. I will step into the gap. I just saw that quote today. Find the people that will step into the gap. And there's this woman in armor, and there's soldiers behind her. And that's a military term, right? You got to fill that gap. I'm going to be with you through this. You got me. I got your six, right? That's the key is finding those people, because unfortunately, again, this is what has been cultivated. It becomes very cutthroat and nasty, and there's a lot of ugliness, out there. And it's sad because, again, that's not how we're going to save the planet. We save it together, hand in hand, standing next to each other, with each other, for each other. Because we want to create something. And what that requires is the removal of your ego. Get your head out of your ass, right? Check it at the door. And be here with everyone to create something great.
So if you were to make a film or a series of films, what would it be?
I'm not a writer. I'm not. I am just now getting close to directing, something I never thought I would, because I always just wanted to be an actor. Like, for me, bringing the word to life that's it. I love that. But recently we shot a pilot. A couple years back, we did a proof of concept. This is for a show called Real Rat. And then we shot a pilot last year, which essentially is another proof of concept. It's just a longer version. The original was, just under 20 minutes. And now we have like a episode of 44-minute, if you were to have commercials, let's say. Ultimately, I would prefer the hour-long, no commercial format, right? That to me is my favorite, because that to me is the combination of television and filmmaking. Mm-hmm. You'll watch these 1-hour episodes. I mean, it's a 10-hour movie with 10 episodes, right? Peaky Blinders, you get 6 episodes, and they can be anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, long episodes. But to me, that's the world I want to live in. But limited budget, the whole deal. I'm a lead in it, but I'm also, directing when I'm not on camera. After that, several folks were like, "That was awesome, man. You really, really like seeing you direct. Really want you to do that." Because again, for me as the coach and stepping in a director, it's always about taking care of your people. Creating that space so that they're comfortable, that they can be. Right? That's the magic. So, what I love about Real Rat, besides playing coach, it's an homage to the basketball community in Spokane, right? Luke, the creator, is a former basketball player and then went to film school, and then that went wonky with COVID, and he's like, screw it, I'm going to do it. Came to Spokane. So he grew up in Utah, next door to John Stockton. Became best friends with Houston, one of John Stockton's sons. They're the same age. Houston is part of Real Rat also. They wrote this together. And he found me when he got to town. He started coming to class, said, "Hey, will you look at this script? And then would you be interested?" Yes, of course, absolutely. I hooked him up with Mystery Ridge, with Jerry. Dear friend, Jerry Bucksbaum, who passed recently. Mm-hmm. So he got the crew together. He was our producer, something that Mystery Ridge had never done. They never thought they would do, right? But he loved it. Jerry was also a member of the Dojo the last couple of years. He was a stunt coordinator, had always done that, had done parts in films reluctantly. Like, hey, you can do this. Like, I don't want to do that. Actors are dying, and he's like, I don't want to do it. And, but no, you're doing it. So what I love about the Real Rat is I can show it to my kids without a second thought. Now, they're older. They can watch rated R as far as I'm concerned and stuff like that. But this is family friendly. You can still deal with real life and still be accessible to everybody. I am really favoring that. I think we have had it up to here with violence, with the anti-heroes, with, a lot of negative stuff, to put it mildly, right? And I ate all that stuff up. Look, I'm born 1970. I grew up with all of it, right? And was a huge fan of it and consumed all of it. But you get to a certain point and you're like, whoa. And again, when it's shock value, entertainment, and that's it, that's not enough. It's missing the mark. We've had enough of that. Okay, and will it ever fully disappear? I don't think so. But we can probably make it better. And I want to bring some, again, just more heart and more soul. And that can happen in any number of ways, characters, genres. I don't think there's any one. I mean, look, everyone's got their gift. Everyone's got their story to tell. Everyone's got their voice, right? Let's find those and let's put them out there. So that's the kind of show. Look, I grew up with the mobsters, the mafia, and like still a kind of a dream to be able to play one of those characters. Godfather, right?
Yeah.
That says it all. You don't really need to say much beyond that, for those who know, for those that were there in real time when they came out. These were groundbreaking, right? This is, again, like The Sopranos. But yeah, Real Rat is a good example of something I'd want to do. Love stories that aren't just rom-coms, right? But love stories. There's power. It's relationship. It's all relationship. We're humans. We're all trying to figure this out, and nobody knows. Some will step into, yeah, I do know, and that's where the trouble starts, right? Like knowing that, oh, that dude's an asshole. Really? Like you said, I can even look at, folks that I've clashed with and empathize. Yeah, well, but they grew up this way. And I think our path, our journey is humanity, and our ultimate strength is going to be in finding ways to come together and be with each other and heal each other. There's that story of a tribe that when, a kid does something wrong, they don't get reprimanded, but like the whole tribe gathers around them and is with them to like be with them to get to the other side of it. Not by making them wrong and punishing them, but by loving them, right? We got to love each other, man. We got to take care of each other. Stop being a jerk. Stop fucking gossiping. Stop stabbing people in the back trying to get ahead. Instead, how can I help? How can I help? I think that's it, and you find people like Jerry and his wife, Amanda, at Mystery Ridge. Amanda was the director of Vacant Lot, and I sat with her as coach. She asked me to be the coach, and I also had a part in the film. So I would sit there next to her, watching the monitors every single take, and we talk, and I give the notes, or she gives the notes to the actors. And a couple of months before Jerry passed, he said, you should have gotten a co-director credit on that. And I'm like, oh, no, Jerry. Because, the way the industry is, not that Amanda is like this, but, there's this director worship that happens. And, I'm like, look, I'm not there to step on any director's toes. I'm there to make the best possible, right? I'm happy to be the coach. I'm not in it for the glory, right? I'm in it, again, to make something great. And the beauty of filmmaking, theater. In theater, you're taught ensemble. Everybody matters. Everybody contributes. Same thing. Family, team, whatever you want to call it. We all contribute to create something. It's not just one person. It's not just the director. It isn't. A great director is going to find a team of several greats, right? Mm-hmm. Check your ego at the door.
Alfred Hitchcock said that actors should be treated like cattle. But he did a whole double-edged, like, duality on that sort of a thing. But
Well, and that's an old Hollywood world,
yeah.
right? That's the studio world. But that same world would have teams of actors that would come to the studio every day and take classes and train and do all of that. They cultivated them. Maybe there's their cattle, right? We got them, we feed them, we train them, and I think that's commercializing it in a sense, creating a factory setting. I'll agree to certain aspects of it. Just take away that they're cattle. Mm-hmm. They're humans, and they're precious. Each and every one of them, right? And they're all unique and individual. They're not all the same. They're not all replaceable. You can always replace an actor, sure. But they're all going to be different. And as it should be. So.
Yeah. Well, we're running up on an hour 30. We're
Wow.
at an hour. Yeah. Time flies when
Wow.
you're having fun talking. And good talks. That's always what I love about these podcasts is you never know where the direction's going to go. You just riff and
Right.
I just ask questions off of random things I think about. But usually two things I ask before it ends is book recommendations and where can people find you?
Wow. It's funny. I went and saw my buddy play Monday at Pig Out in the Park. He had his 25-year anniversary of his band, Vertigo Bliss. And a good buddy, Doug Dawson, was there. And he sat next to me for a bit. And he's like, I just read Uta Hagen's Respect for Acting, which is a very famous acting book, right? Uta Hagen, very famous teacher. I'm like, yeah, I still haven't read it. I've owned it since, I think, college, if not graduate school. I'm not a great reader. I like a lot of personal development works. Something like The Alchemist is a lovely story. Anything by Paul Coelho. I favor the spiritual growth, right? These days I read scripts as much as I can and film scripts, not just plays. I tell the actors, you want to find good work, definitely look at plays. But I'm not the best. My daughter reads a book a week. She's definitely read more books than I have in my lifetime. She'd be better with book recommendations. She does a lot of fantasy, anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Man, that's a tough one on the books. And there's so much out there, right? So I don't have great answers for you on that one. Where you can reach me. So I have Coach Rick on YouTube channel, which isn't much. I just, but I also have the Coach's Corner, which these are mid-segment replacements that I do for the Around the Reel podcast. Again, that's CCC Entertainment. That's Aaron Carlson. his wife Samantha. And so, you can comment through there, reach me, or you can email me at thecoachrick, RICK, @gmail.com. I have a Facebook private group called Coach Rick's Actors Dojo. What I do, I'm not trying to be a large commercial entity. I prefer the word of mouth. And, I'm in Spokane keeping this thing going for over 10 years in a non-industry town. I think it's because of that. I think it's because the work speaks for itself. And I'm not into playing, and maybe I should, I'm going to have you teach me how to get some stuff out there. I'm not interested in being an influencer and getting followers. I want to build something and create something that matters so that when you come across it, you can be touched, right? That's it. And the invitation is come along, and help build that. This is not something, it's only going to grow with people, right? And I am just someone who believes in it and wants people to come along for the ride. So
cool. Well, there you guys have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast as much as I did. Check out all of Rick's links in the video description below. Be sure to like this video. Remember, subscribing is what winners do. Sharing is caring, but leaving your comments and the questions in the comments below, and we'll get back to them. Until next time, folks. Bye.